Some very big news announced the other day that I definitely wanted to make sure we covered here. According to the Institute on Race, Power, and Political Economy from the New School, as they report exciting news, our founding director, Dr. Derek Hamilton, has been named to Mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani's Transition Committee on Economic and Workforce Development. In this role, he will advise on policies that advance the mayor-elect's vision for a more inclusive and affordable new city. Now, of course, why is this big news? The number one reason, obviously, is that Dr. Derek Hamilton had written the foreword to the second edition of my book, in which, as I'll remind you, he writes, in order to redirect collective agency from the false promises of strategic consumption to the domain of political action, we must expeditiously and thoroughly dispatch the myth of black buying power. In writing this book, Professor Ball has given us a powerful tool with which to do so.
Now listen, that's called my boy. You know nothing about that.
Enough said. Now we can officially get excited about Mamdani's election. So, in all seriousness, all jokes aside, I think this is important and also could be potentially a bit of concern. So I think this is important for at least a number of reasons. And although it does cause me some level of concern that I'll share in just a moment. Of course, Dr. Hamilton has been a big support to me, and salute to him. I deeply appreciate it, greatly appreciate it. Sent him a congratulatory text upon hearing the news, and think that he will give every honest effort within the confines of what are considered relatively practical, non-revolutionary ideas and areas of work to come up with legit ways that Mamdani can use the resources generated by the people of New York and beyond to be better distributed in ways that help the people of New York and probably beyond in terms of benefiting from all the wealth that they have helped create for those who end up benefiting the most and accumulating all that wealth. So while not being a revolutionary and not certainly rising to some of the standards of some of us around here in terms of his political radicalism, Derek Hamilton has done, I think, and is doing as much as could be expected within what are considered mainstream economic and political spaces to say, let's do something for those who are most abused, starting with, of course, black people. So salute to him for that. I think what this also speaks to is that Mamdani is currently as left a political candidate, an electable political candidate as this country is able to produce, and is looking to do within that all that he can do to live up to that relatively and ultimately limiting label and political position. Where Mamdani's election, where Hamilton's inclusion bring me any sort of pause or concern is always sort of for the same reason, that I don't want and wouldn't want any of us to have our political imaginations limited by the limitations put on the practical mainstream political spaces that we see occupied by people like Mamdani and other politicians. In other words, I don't want any level of a Bernie Sanders style rebranding of what socialism actually is, what radical politics actually are, to occur within the confines of this mayoral election in New York. So that would be it. It's no different than what I've said here. That yes, I'm loving the overlap here. I'm loving the self-interest of that I can garner from this to a certain extent. But at the same time, I'm as I've said about my work here, I would say about Hamilton's involvement in Mamdani's campaign. These are not revolutionary arguments. These are not revolutionary movements in and of themselves. They are, relatively speaking, radical calls within the confines of an existing environment to do something different with that existing environment. So whether it's my buying power argument, which is really just advocating for the devaluation in our political imagination of certain harmful, antithetical, anti-black myths about the economy and race, it's not a call to some sort of revolutionary or radical movement or work. It encourages it, It says it alludes to it as being necessary, but it's not that. And in and of itself is not the most radical critique of capitalism that there could be, and certainly not the critique of capitalism that we need today. So in this sense, this is where I'm saying, even as I'm enjoying the moment, looking to take some advantage of the moment, I also want to be clear that there are limitations to that, whether it's we're talking about the analysis offered in my book, or we're talking about the ultimate value of an election of Mamdani, or his bringing into his campaign someone as good as Dr. Derek Hamilton. The problem facing revolutionists still remains, that we must continue to push for more, and we must not allow for any further rebranding of what radicalism actually is, even as some of us do, as I'm doing right now, make limited self-interest claims of value and benefit based on this or any other act. So all fun and jokes aside, we do have to get back to the business of actually developing radical politics, analyses, movements, etc., producing our own candidates, producing our own movements and leaders, and becoming more of a problem for the world as it's currently constructed.
And what do you sacrifice?
Calm, kindness, kinship, love. I've given up all chance at inner peace. I made my mind a sunless space. I share my dreams with ghosts. I wake up every day to an equation I wrote 15 years ago, for which there's only one conclusion. I'm damned for what I do. My anger, my ego, my unwillingness to yield, my eagerness to fight, that set me on a path from which there's no escape. I yearn to be a savior against injustice without contemplating the cost, and by the time I look down, it's no longer any ground beneath my feet. What is my sacrifice? I'm condemned to use the tools of my enemy to defeat them. I burn my decency for someone else's future. I burn my life to make a sunrise that I know I'll never see. Now, the ego that started this fight will never have a mirror or an audience or the light of gratitude. So what do I sacrifice? Everything.
I mix what I like, what I like, what I like, what I like, what I like.